Hi, my name is Shayna. Thank you for joining me today. We are going to make a very special plum cake. This cake dates from 1780 to the 1800s. It came to me as just a list of ingredients and amounts. It didn't have any instructions on how to make the cake, and it had no leaveners in it. So I've done a little bit of research for us, and I think I have figured it out, but I'm not entirely sure. We're gonna find out though. I have massively scaled this recipe down. It was originally calling for 7 pounds of flour and 24 eggs, which I don't even know where I'm gonna serve that, much less bake it. So I have scaled it down by 1/4, and we're gonna follow those ingredients. Now in these old recipes, this was actually measured out by weight and not by volume. I have weighed everything out and measured it by volume at the same time. So I'm going to give you the recipe based on volume and not weight. But if you want to see the original recipe and my scaled down version by weight, you can download the recipe free on my Patreon, which is right here. And then it's yours to try out as you would. Now, the really interesting thing about this time period is it doesn't have any plums. There are no plums as we know them today. And that is because at that time, the word plum, spelt with a B, P-L-U-M-B, was a very generic term that covered raisins, currants, and actual plums. So this recipe actually called for currants. It lists currants in the ingredients. It doesn't list any other form of plum. And a currant is, I wish I had a raisin, is a very tiny version of a raisin. You can see how small it is. It's a little bit sweeter than a raisin would be and not quite as juicy. I think my favorite part about this cake is that my relatives actually moved here to New Brunswick, which at that time was part of Nova Scotia, in 1786. And they could have actually made this very recipe. So I'm excited to do it. Let's get at it. 5 cups plus 2 tablespoons of flour. And we're gonna add our spices directly to that. I've already pre-measured these. 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon, 1¼ teaspoons of cloves, 1¼ teaspoons of nutmeg, and 1½ teaspoons of mace. Now I bought my mace fresh and I ground it up myself, so it's a little bit bigger, but I'm hoping it'll work. I wish this was smell-o-vision because these are so earthy and deep and rich. The smell is just, it's warm and welcoming, and I can't wait to taste it in this cake. We're gonna dump this into our flour and then just mix it up just to incorporate those spices throughout. That looks pretty good, and we'll just set this aside for a few minutes. This cake has no leavening agents at all. So I did a lot of research, and what I came up with was that the butter and sugar, how it often is today, was whipped together. And then we're also going to use egg whites to incorporate air into our cake so that it's not thick and dense. But we're going to start with the butter. 3/4 pound of butter. I just want to make it a little bit easier to mix in. And to our butter, we are going to add 1 pound of sugar. Lock our mixing bowl in place, and we're just going to mix this and cream it up until it's fluffy. Now that our butter is all mixed and light and fluffy, I'm actually going to move my flour to a bigger bowl because this bowl is not big enough. I don't know what I was thinking. Transferring it will also help incorporate the spices. And we're also going to add our currants at this point. So 1 pound of currants, add that right into the flour. And I'm gonna stir this up so that the currants are kind of covered in flour, and that is gonna help them stay suspended in the cake mixture. I just want to get them all nice and coated. We don't need any lumps in our cake. All right, make a well with that, and I'm still just gonna set that aside for a minute. We're not quite ready to add the liquid yet. Now to our butter, we are going to add 6 egg yolks and wine. At this time, based on my research, it would have been a fortified wine, and so that is your port, your sherry or your Moderna wines. I chose port. It's a little red and I'm concerned about the color of my cake when it's done, but we'll see. Port is primarily a French wine, and I think at that time it would have been a French wine that they would have had more access to. So that's why I chose the port. Make it with whatever fortified wine you want. I'm interested to see the difference. If you do happen to make this, show me. 3/4 of a cup of wine. And 6 egg yolks. We're gonna save the white separately, and we're going to beat the whites to add more air into this. So that's why we're separating them out. I'm gonna set my egg whites aside for a moment. And I'm going to mix up our egg yolk and wine with the butter. And this might not have been the right time to add the wine. It's so hard to know when you have no descriptions at all, right? Let's clean this up a bit. There we go. As you can see, it looks really gross. So we're just gonna dump this in. My butter mixture didn't get 100% incorporated. That's okay, it will be incorporated in the final cake. And we also need to add 1/2 pound of mixed candied citrus peel, which turns out to be an entire container. Visually, not the prettiest cake I've made. I'm just gonna give this a mix up, because when it comes to the egg whites that we are going to beat until they're fluffy, I want to be able to just fold them in. Could you imagine how big 7 pounds must have been? Look how big this is. Okay, I don't think I can absorb any more of the flour with this, so I'm just gonna move on to the egg whites, and let's see if we can incorporate those. So that's 6 egg whites. I'm skeptical that I have the right size bowl, but I'm also skeptical at the amount of liquid this is gonna add. But let's just try it, we'll see. We can always add more wine, and I'm pretty sure at this time period, if it was too dry, they'd have just added a little more wine. I'm trying to be a little bit gentle. I don't wanna break that egg too much. I wanna keep the foam in. But I honestly don't think it's enough liquid for all of this flour. Here's another problem with this recipe. It called for a bottle of wine. I am not 100% sure if that was a 750 milliliter bottle of wine. It could have been slightly bigger at that time. I am going to add, and honestly, it doesn't really even look like that was 1/4. I'm gonna pour a little more in, because we definitely need more moisture in our cake, and it's at this point right here, so I feel like that's closer to 1/3. But so the wine would have added flavor, it would have added moisture, and with cakes we're not looking to get everything soaking wet, we're just looking for everything to be incorporated. So I don't want to see these dry bits of flour here like this. Oh my goodness, it's heavy. Okay, my friends, I think that is mixed enough. I know there's little bits of flour that we can see, but those are mostly stuck to the currants and there's no huge chunks. Let's get this into a pan. Oh, it's heavy. Ugh. Okay, I chose this size because this recipe is still fairly big. Well, this is quite possibly the ugliest looking cake I've made. It smells delicious, and I'm gonna be honest, it actually looks really good, but I think it's gonna be really heavy. Now, this cake would have been expensive at this time. Currants were not cheap. Your candied fruit. The recipe called for citron, but I didn't have that. It's not really popular today. The mixed citrus peel that we used is an equivalent substitution for it, but that would have been expensive at that time. The wine, probably still not cheap. So this is a cake that would have been used for a celebration. perhaps a wedding or Christmas or some other celebration. This would have been a very special cake at this time. So we are going to put this in the oven and bake it at 375 for 40 minutes. I'll see you in a few. Our cake is out of the oven. Look how beautiful it is. I wish you had smell-o-vision. It smells delicious. It's still really heavy. This is a dense cake, and that's not surprising considering there are no leavening agents in it. But, you know, maybe it will pair nicely with a glass of port. Let's cut in and see what we have. There's a nice crunch to the top. Hopefully I didn't bake it too long. It doesn't look like I baked it too long, and in fact, I think it was just the right amount of time. I wouldn't have wanted to do any less. It has the red wine glow from it. Let's give this a cut. It's still heavy, like, I don't really want the crispy edges, so I'm just gonna cut a slice down the middle. Okay, as you can see, it's not the cake we know today. It's very dense, it's very heavy. Not surprisingly, it feels more like a fruit cake. The scent is delicious. So I'm getting the earthiness of the spices in the scent of this, but I'm also getting that beautiful citrus smell from the candied mixed citrus fruit that we put in. It smells divine. I think it's time we try a bite. Oh my goodness, it smells so good though. I will admit I like fruitcake, so I'm probably gonna like this, but let's see. Oh my gosh. It's chewy. It really is very reminiscent of a fruitcake, and I hesitate to say that because so many people put a bad rap to fruitcake. Yeah, this is delicious. I can see why it would have been a nice treat. Those currants are sweet. They pack a little punch, but not the same way a raisin does. I don't know how to explain it. Similar, but not the same. It's delicious. You know what? I would make this again. It is very good. I'm gonna give this a thumbs up. So this recipe was part of a series that I'm doing. It's the very first one in that series, in conjunction with the University of New Brunswick, who kindly gathered all of these recipes from 1750 to 1800. And I'm gonna be making a few of them. Send me your recipes and comments at chatwithshayna@gmail.com, and I will respond. Hopefully your recipe will be chosen and I'll make it on air. If you have anything from the 1700s or 1800s, please let me know, particularly if it has to do with New Brunswick or Atlantic Canada, as that is my new project and I'm super excited about it. Thanks for watching. Bye.